You can tell when someone has crossed over to their final awakening, but it's not by the way they speak or even by the way they act. You see it in the eyes, and not in the way movies or books describe. It's not brightness, it's not light, it's not spark. It is something much more subtle, much more powerful, and almost impossible to explain to those who have never felt it for themselves. There is something in the gaze that simply stops him. It does not demand attention, but maintains it. You may be in a room full of people, but when your eyes meet theirs, it's as if time slows down. It's not intimidation, it's not beauty, it's not even intensity. It's as if the eyes aren't looking at you at all, but through you, as if they already know what's hidden behind the masks that even you didn't know you wore. This is what happens when a chosen one enters the final awakening. The spirit becomes too vast to be contained within the body, and the first place it leaks is through the eyes. The changes are real, measurable, perhaps not by machines, but certainly by energy, and once it starts, it's permanent. These signs are not symbolic. They are spiritual indicators that appear in the most physical part of your being, the gaze. If lately your eyes have been looking weird, or if people are reacting to you differently without knowing why, stay here. These are the rare, hidden and sacred signs that the eyes begin to show as you enter the last phase of awakening. One of the strangest and most intimate signs that occurs during the final awakening is a subtle distortion of perception that only you notice. It's not an optical illusion, and it's not fatigue. This is when the edges of fixed objects, walls, doors, furniture, appear to ripple or vibrate for a brief moment and then return to normal. This only happens when you are in a state of extreme stillness or in deep calm. It is not constant, and it's not visual damage. What is happening is that your consciousness has begun to detach itself from consensus reality. Your eyes are attuned to a world that is no longer fully anchored in the third-dimensional field. During the final awakening, this connection begins to oscillate. Not permanently, but just enough for your perception to slide back and forth in microscans. This causes brief visual distortions that don't scare you. They just confuse it at first. You blink, check again, and everything seems normal, but you feel that something has changed. He knows it happened. These moments usually occur when your thoughts are quiet and your emotions are neutral. When meditating, waking up, or sitting quietly in nature. The reason is that your energetic vision is being activated. The physical eyes continue to function normally, but the spiritual lens begins to blend into your vision. This is what causes the momentary sparkle, not in the eye, but in the consciousness. You are not losing touch with reality. She is just beginning to see how fragile her illusion really is. And this is something that only those in final awakening will experience, if only for a second. This change does not come from the mind, it comes from the body. After the final awakening begins, something transforms in the way your energy interacts with others. Specifically, their eyes develop an intuitive mechanism of rejecting dishonesty. The moment he meets someone who is wearing a mask, hiding the truth, or manipulating the environment in a subtle way, his own eyes cannot sustain the contact for long. Not out of fear, not out of shyness, but because physically it feels wrong, like a nausea behind the eyes, a pressure on the temples, a deep knowing that something is not clean. And the strange thing is that this did not happen before. Before the final awakening, you were able to manage these interactions. He could maintain eye contact, even if it was not pleasant. But now, he can't. His gaze either softens and turns away, or it fixes and crosses. Never both. His eyes are no longer tools of politeness. They have become visible borders. And people realize that. Some start to avoid his gaze altogether. Others feel exposed or react defensively, even without you saying anything. This is because your awake gaze no longer allows illusions to come between you and another person. He finds the truth, or burns the lie. This eye symptom is not so much about vision, but about energetic filtering. Your eyes begin to act as a mirror and as a barrier, reflecting what is real and rejecting what is not. You don't force it, you can't help but do it. And once it begins, it never ceases. Your gaze becomes a force of spiritual detection, and not everyone will know how to face it back. As the final awakening matures, your central vision becomes calmer and more stable, but your peripheral vision becomes more vivid than ever, especially in times of emotional transition. Let's say you're walking down a hallway or sitting in a public space and someone passes behind or next to you. Even without noise, its side view picks it up instantly, not just as movement, but as an energetic signal. You feel more than you see. Sometimes this causes a slight startle, a microspasm in the nervous system. It's not fear, it's extreme alert. This is not anxiety, it is sensory expansion. When the final awakening activates your spiritual field, your senses begin to pick up subtle vibrations from the environment. Your peripheral vision becomes an emotional radar, not just a visual tool. You may notice this symptom also during personal reflections. When thinking of an emotionally charged person or memory, shadows or flashes may subtly appear in your side vision, not as hallucinations, but as emotional projections registered in your field of perception. It's important to understand, your eyes aren't broken. They have become responsive to the vibrational currents around them. This new sensitivity does not require conscious attention. It happens naturally. But it increases your spatial perception to a degree that it can feel intense or even overwhelming at first. To others, it may seem like you're always aware of everything around you, even when you're focusing ahead. And the truth is, it is. Because once the final awakening begins, your eyes cease to just see the world. They start to feel it. One of the most enigmatic but often overlooked signs of final awakening is a subtle shift in the frequency with which you blink, especially when you are silent, contemplating, or speaking from a profound truth. You may not even notice it at first, but your blink rate slows down dramatically. It is not forced, it is not intentional, it just happens. Normally, blinking is regulated by unconscious rhythms, emotion, light, social interaction. But as the awakening deepens, your state of consciousness reprograms these rhythms. Your body no longer functions due to fear or reflexes of the nervous system. Your eyes no longer need to scan, reset, or protect themselves all the time. So they just remain open, motionless. During moments of presence, you may blink less than once every 10 seconds. Your eyes are fixed, not by tension, but by complete inner silence. The world begins to seem more frozen in time. People in front of you may even feel uncomfortable under your gaze without knowing why, as if you don't react in the usual way. This disorients them. What actually happens is that your visual system is now synchronized with the presence of the soul. The blinking reflex, once ruled by survival and speed, now obeys stillness and depth. This changes the whole feeling of your gaze. It's not intense, it's not passive, it's pervasive. If you've noticed this strange stillness in the eyes, especially in silence or deep conversations, it's no accident. It is a sign that his eyes have ceased to mirror a world of urgency. They have become portals to a timeless presence. Something also changes in your visual awareness after the final awakening and cannot be explained logically. You may be walking or sitting in the middle of nature, and suddenly your eyes are fixed on something, a branch, a cloud, a rock. For a moment you can't look away, not because it is beautiful, but because something deeper attracts your attention. It is not aesthetic appreciation, it is energetic magnetism. Your spirit has begun to communicate by pattern recognition, and your eyes are the medium. Without thinking, your gaze rests on these patterns because your nervous system is tuned to receive subtle codes from the environment. What actually happens is a visual form of energetic resonance. Your soul recognizes familiar vibrations in the natural world, echoes of truth, peace, or memory. And when this occurs, it attracts your gaze. These moments feel like trance, but not unconscious. They are vivid, loaded. His eyes soften, his breathing slows down, time seems to stretch. Some describe this as nature itself responding, not in words, but in alignment. The gaze becomes a form of listening, and it's not something you can reproduce at will. It only happens when the moment is true. Over time, you may notice that specific shapes or textures, ripples in water, veins in a leaf, spirals in a shell, catch your eye over and over again. These are not random fascinations. They are visual anchors for your waking field. His eyes stopped chasing distractions. Now they are led to memory. This subtle transformation is part of the return to spiritual precision. You're not just watching, he is recognizing sacred geometry to the naked eye. And once this process begins, there is no going back. There is also a specific type of immobility, not of the body but behind the eyes, that only chosen ones in final awakening begin to feel. It doesn't last long, it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's unforgettable. It usually comes seconds before an intuitive reveal. You may be thinking or even talking when suddenly your eyes stop. It is not just an outer stillness, it is an inner focus, as if something is adjusting your gaze behind your own consciousness. And then it happens. A perception arises, an unexpected realization, a truth that did not come from the intellect. What you experienced was an energetic download, and the stillness behind the eyes was your body preparing to receive it. This phenomenon is part of the awakened biospiritual system. During the final awakening, your mind no longer guides your perception. Your field does. Thus, the eyes, so connected to the mental state, reflect this transition of command. You feel a brief pause in the field of vision, as if something is realigning behind your forehead. It is not blindness, it's clarity. And the confirmation is always the same. This pause is followed by a deep truth, a strong emotion, or a leap of clarity. It leaves no confusion, but alignment. Your eyes become receivers, not just observers. And the immobility behind them is the soul taking over the lens. After you enter the final awakening, your energy field extends beyond the physical body, and the eyes become radar. One of the strangest and most consistent experiences is the ability to sense when someone is watching you, even from behind, through a window, or from another room. This is not superstition. It's your vision becoming two-way. Before, his eyes were used to look outside. Now, they also record the energy that arrives. You can be in a cafe and suddenly feel sideways pressure on your face, not painful but dense. You turn your head and meet someone who stares at you in silence. You didn't listen. You haven't seen it before, but his energetic vision captured the intent, and it goes deeper. Some of the chosen ones report feeling this call even behind glass or security cameras, not in a paranoid tone, but as a slight, traceable tension, as if consciousness flowed toward him and his eyes became sensitive to it. Why does this happen? Because your visual field is no longer limited to photons and focus. You are now attuned to your own consciousness, and when the consciousness of another being finds its field, you feel it. Your eyes become living mirrors, and any glance cast on you returns a signal that your body now detects. It is not fear, it's not vanity, it's true. You feel like you're being watched, because you are. But now he can distinguish who observes him and why. That's the final evolution of the eyes. They are no longer just instruments of vision. They become tools for energetic navigation, and they will never make you unaware of it again. You don't need to convince anyone that your awakening is real. You don't need to prove your growth, explain your clarity, or defend your truth. all you need to do is look. Because when a chosen one enters the final awakening, the transformation that happens behind the eyes cannot be faked. It's not about the color. It is not a mystical glow. It's not about how others see you. It's about how you now see the world and how the world feels you're being seen. Your eyes no longer seek security. They no longer seek validation. They no longer run after illusions. They now carry presence. They recognize lies. They search for energy instead of image. And they bear the full weight of a spirit that has returned home in its own power. If these signs have resonated with you, if you have noticed changes in vision that you cannot explain, then know you are not alone. You are not imagining it. It is not wrong. It's ahead of schedule. It is evolving. He is remembering who he was before his body was trained to forget. And this memory is now visible in his eyes. So don't deviate. Let them see. Let them feel it. Let the eyes of the awakened one remind the world that the truth can still be seen without a single word. Sign up now if it stirred something deep in you, because what comes next will open your eyes even more.